The African sun rises like a fiery crown above the endless expanse of the Serengeti, painting the horizon in shades of gold and crimson. The air shimmers with heat, though dawn has only just broken. A dry wind whispers across the tall grasses, carrying with it the scent of dust, earth, and life. Millions of lives. Beneath this vast dome of sky, a story as old as time itself is about to unfold. At first, it was only a tremor. The ground quivers faintly, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. Then comes the sound, a low, distant murmur, rolling across the plains. It grows louder with each passing second until it becomes thunder without rain, a deep percussion that rattles the bones. A shadow emerges on the horizon, spreading wide and black against the morning light. Dust swirls upwards in colossal plumes, shrouding the land in a hazy veil. From this haze they appear. Wildebeests by the hundreds, by the thousands, by the millions. Horns glint in the sunlight. Eyes gleam with ancient instinct. Bodies surge forward in an unstoppable tide. They are not individuals, but a living flood, flowing like rivers of muscle and sinew across the golden plains. Hooves pound the earth in unison, each strike echoing with the weight of survival. This is no ordinary movement. It is not migration in the sense we know it. This is survival written on a biblical scale. A journey measured not in miles, but in generations. For as long as memory reaches, they have come, tracing invisible paths etched into the fabric of Africa itself. From the southern Serengeti to the distant green pastures of the Maasai Mara, this is the greatest animal migration on land. A pilgrimage that defines not only these creatures, but the entire ecosystem that surrounds them. But they do not travel alone. Alongside them, stripes of black and white ripple through the dust. Zebras, ever watchful, their sharp eyes and ears tuned to danger. Gazelles dart at the edges of the herds, their delicate legs quivering with both grace and fear. Overhead, vultures wheel in the sky, their dark wings circling with patient hunger. And hidden within the tall grasses, predators stir. The lions, the hyenas, the leopards, each waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The migration is a spectacle of abundance, but also of loss. For every newborn calf that stumbles to its feet and joins the march, another will fall to the claws, jaws, and teeth of Africa's hunters. For every river that offers cool water and green grass, another hides death in the form of crocodiles lurking just beneath the surface. It is a journey where hope and despair travel side by side, and yet they continue. Year after year, against every obstacle, against every predator, against every drought. Because to stop is to perish. This is the Great Migration. This is life, raw and unrelenting, painted across the Serengeti canvas. Welcome to the Great Migration of Africa. In the golden savannas of East Africa, survival is a constant negotiation, and no negotiation comes without conflict. The wildebeest herds, surging in their endless march, are more than travelers. They are the very currency of life, a moving feast that sustains an entire continent's worth of predators. Each set of hooves, each trembling calf, represents the difference between starvation and survival for countless hunters that shadow their journey. From the tall, sun-bleached grasses, amber eyes glimmer. A lioness crouches low, her tawny coat merging perfectly with the savanna's palette. Around her, the pride stirs in silence, Mothers, sisters, cubs, all tied together in a single mission: to feed. They know the herds are coming. They feel the vibrations beneath their paws. The air is thick with anticipation. And when the wildebeests finally sweep past like a living storm, it takes only a flick of a tail, a silent signal, and the chase begins. But lions are not alone in this eternal pursuit. On the edges of the herds, shadows move with tireless patience. Hyenas, their strange laughing calls echoing in the night, are both hunters and opportunists. They wait for weakness. The limping calf, the wildebeest caught in panic, the zebra that strays too far from the safety of the herd. When the moment comes, they descend in relentless numbers, jaws stronger than steel, crushing bone, devouring everything. Nothing is wasted. Faster, but far more fragile, the cheetah joins this theater of survival. With a burst of speed that turns the savanna into blur and dust, it lunges after gazelles and young wildebeest. In less than a minute, the chase is over, for success or for failure. For a cheetah, every hunt is a gamble. It risks everything in one breathless sprint. And then there are the jackals, clever scavengers, nimble and bold. They dance at the edges of every kill, waiting for the scraps that larger predators leave behind. To them, survival means cunning rather than strength, patience rather than speed. Above it all, the skies are never empty. Vultures circle in widening spirals, their wings casting ominous shadows on the ground below. They are the final witnesses to every hunt, swooping down in great flocks once the kill is done, stripping the savanna clean until only bones remain. Where others see death, vultures see opportunity. Yet the most fearsome hunters of the migration lie not in the grass nor in the sky, but in the rivers. Nile crocodiles, prehistoric monsters, unchanged for millions of years, lie submerged beneath the muddy waters, silent, patient, eternal. When the herds finally surge into the rivers, driven by thirst and instinct, the crocodiles rise with explosive violence, dragging their prey into the depths. For the wildebeest, the river is both salvation and graveyard, predator and prey, hunger and survival, life and death. It is a balance so precise that without one, the other cannot exist. The Great Migration is not simply a journey across Africa. Stretching across northern Tanzania and into southern Kenya lies a kingdom without walls, one of the last great wildernesses on Earth, the Serengeti and the Maasai Mara. Here, the horizon seems infinite, a boundless sweep of grassland where sky and earth merge in a seamless embrace. The land is alive with color, emerald plains after the rains, parched gold in the dry months, and the deep green of acacia trees standing tall like watchful guardians of time. The Serengeti, whose very name means endless plains in the Maasai language, is a living mosaic of habitats. Rolling grasslands give way to granite kopjes, ancient stone outcrops that rise from the earth like islands in a sea of grass. Rivers snake through the terrain, bringing life where water is scarce, while scattered woodlands shelter creatures from the unforgiving sun. Each season paints a different portrait. The rains drench the land in abundance, turning the plains into a lush paradise, while the dry season scorches the earth, testing the resilience of every living being that calls this place home. To the north lies the Maasai Mara, an extension of this wilderness across the invisible human-made border. Here, the landscape softens into rolling hills and winding rivers, rich in life and history. It is in these twin realms that the greatest migration on land unfolds, a natural wonder so immense it can be seen from the air, herds forming dark ribbons that stretch for miles across the earth. For centuries, this has also been the land of the Maasai people. Draped in their crimson shuka robes, the Maasai live in close harmony with the wilderness. Their cattle, grazing alongside zebras and wildebeests, embody a way of life shaped by coexistence. Warriors once hunted lions to prove their strength, but today, many stand as protectors of the very animals that have defined their culture for generations. The rhythm of their lives is tied inseparably to the rhythm of the land. The true architects of this kingdom are not people, but the rains that dictate the dance of survival. The wet season births a flush of grass, summoning the herds south to calve and replenish their numbers. The dry season pushes them northward in search of water and greener pastures. It is a cycle written in rainfall and dust, as predictable as the seasons, yet always fraught with danger. This land is the stage upon which the greatest drama of nature is performed. Every acacia tree, every bend in a river, every sun-baked kopje plays its part in the unfolding spectacle. But as vast and breathtaking as this stage is, its majesty would mean little without its actors. For it is not stone or grass or even rain that rules here. It is the animals. Millions of hooves, wings, claws, and teeth that shape the destiny of this wilderness. But the true rulers of this land are not human. If the Great Migration is a symphony of survival, then the wildebeest are its relentless drumbeat. Over 1.5 million of these strange, shaggy antelopes surge across East Africa each year, transforming the landscape into a living river of horns and hooves. With their humped shoulders, square jaws, and almost comical faces, they may not seem like nature's most elegant creatures, but their endurance, numbers, and instincts make them the undisputed heart of the migration. Biologically, the wildebeest is built for the long haul. Broad muzzles sweep low to graze on the plains' short grasses, their preferred food. Strong shoulders and spindly legs carry them thousands of kilometers, guided by an internal compass tied to the reins. Unlike solitary antelope, they thrive only in the collective, moving as a single, unified mass that confuses predators and overwhelms the land with sheer force of presence. Their grunts echo across the savanna in a deep, rhythmic chorus, sounding less like animals and more like the earth itself, groaning beneath their weight. Life in the herds is structured by rhythm and timing. At the beginning of the year, when the southern Serengeti is lush with fresh grass, the females give birth almost simultaneously. Within just a few weeks, more than 500,000 calves are born, each one a fragile heartbeat in this great surge of life. The timing is no accident. Synchronized birthing floods the plains with young, ensuring that even the hungriest predators cannot take them all. The first moments of a calf's life are critical. In less than 5 minutes after birth, it must struggle to its feet on trembling legs. Within 15, it must walk. And in less than an hour, it must be able to run. Because in this world, hesitation means death. Mothers nudge their young, urging them to join the herd. The bond is fierce, their maternal instincts sharpened by the constant threat of lions, hyenas, and cheetahs prowling the edges of the nursery herds. The mass gatherings of wildebeest are almost beyond comprehension. From horizon to horizon, the plains darken with their forms, hooves striking the ground in thunderous unison. The air vibrates with their guttural calls, gnu, 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 a chorus that becomes the soundtrack of the Serengeti. To stand amidst them is to feel small before a force of nature, as though the land itself has begun to move. Despite the chaos, the herds are not leaderless. Their movements are directed by instinct, weather, and the faint scent of rain carried on the wind. Wildebeest possesses an uncanny ability to sense distant storms, guiding the herd toward fresh pastures long before clouds appear on the horizon. This instinct, honed over millennia, keeps them alive, always moving, always seeking, always surviving. By their sheer numbers, wildebeest shape the entire ecosystem. Their grazing patterns renew the grasslands. Their presence feeds predators, and their deaths sustain scavengers and soil alike. The wildebeest are the migration, the lifeblood of the Serengeti. With each calf born and each hoof that strikes the earth, the cycle is renewed, echoing across generations. The wildebeest march on, not with grace, but with an unstoppable determination that defines the very spirit of Africa's Great Migration. If the wildebeest are the pounding heart of the Great Migration, then the zebras are its bright and brilliant pulse. Their black and white stripes ripple like waves through the sea of brown, a dazzling spectacle that seems almost out of place on the Golden Plains. And yet, they are not stragglers in this great journey. They are essential companions, bound to the wildebeest by a partnership written in survival. Unlike their wildebeest allies, zebras are selective grazers. Their strong teeth and digestive systems allow them to crop the taller, tougher grasses that wildebeest find difficult to chew. By moving ahead of the wildebeest herds, they act as living lawnmowers, clearing the way for the shorter, tender shoots that the wildebeest crave. In return, the wildebeest, with their sheer numbers, offers zebras something invaluable: protection. Where a single zebra family might fall easy prey to lions or hyenas, within the great herds, their chances of survival multiply. This partnership is not born of affection, but of pragmatism. Each species benefits. Each fills a role. It is nature's quiet contract, unspoken but perfectly understood. Together, they carve their path across the savannah, each one relying on the other to make the impossible journey possible. Predators, however, are never far. A zebra's stripes are more than decoration. They are strategy. When a herd breaks into a gallop, the blur of black and white confuses the eye, making it harder for a lion to single out one target. At the water's edge, where crocodiles wait in patient ambush, the stripes ripple on the surface, dazzling and disorienting, a shield of illusion against death. Family bonds run deep within zebra herds, Each stallion leads his harem of mares and foals, defending them with ferocity when danger looms. Mothers recognize their young by sound and scent, and even in the chaos of a predator attack, a foal's cry is enough to send its mother racing back into the fray. Foals are born with brown stripes that darken with age, their coats blending into the dust until maturity cloaks them in brilliance. When danger comes, zebras rely not just on their speed but on their vigilance. Unlike wildebeest, which often stampede blindly, zebras are keen-eyed sentinels of the savanna. They raise their heads at the faintest sound, snorting alarms that ripple through the herds. This constant watchfulness saves not only themselves, but their wildebeest companions as well. Together, wildebeest and zebras embody the essence of the migration. Strength in diversity, survival through cooperation. One clears the grass, the other consumes it. One sees danger, the other overwhelms it. Alone, they are vulnerable. And so, in great striped waves, the zebras move with the wildebeest across the Serengeti, their rhythm as old as the land itself. In the grand orchestra of the Great Migration, not all voices thunder with the same force. Some sing with lightness, with grace, with a delicate beauty that belies their perilous existence. Among the wildebeest and zebras, smaller, swifter creatures weave through the herds like flickers of flame across the grass. The gazelles and antelopes. The Thompson's gazelle, with its russet back, white belly, and bold black stripe, is one of the most iconic sights of the Serengeti. Barely knee-high, it weighs little more than a medium-sized dog, yet its spirit is forged in vigilance. Always alert, always ready to flee, it survives by being both fleet-footed and watchful. Alongside them roam their larger cousins, the Grant's gazelles, elegant creatures with longer horns and paler coats, built for endurance on the open plains. Together, these antelopes embody agility, the art of surviving not through strength but through speed, awareness, and numbers. Life for the gazelle is a gamble played every hour of every day. Their small size makes them one of the savanna's favorite meals, coveted by cheetahs, jackals, hyenas, leopards, and even martial eagles that stoop from the sky to snatch the very young. To survive in such a hostile world, they rely on an extraordinary gift, their speed. With explosive bursts, a Thompson's gazelle can reach over 60 kilometers per hour, rivaling even the cheetah in short sprints. But speed alone is not their secret. Their true weapon is unpredictability. When danger strikes, gazelles launch into stodding, a series of high bounding leaps that send them soaring into the air. To the human eye, it looks like play. To the predator, it is maddening. Each leap changes direction. Each bound wastes the hunter's energy. For the cheetah, designed for straight-line speed, these acrobatics often turn the chase into a futile dance. Yet even with these talents, life expectancy is short. Many calves fall within days of birth, their fragile legs no match for prowling jackals or swift raptors. Mothers hide their young in the grass, returning periodically to nurse them. But the odds are grim. Still, enough survive to replenish the herds, to keep the cycle turning. Unlike the great columns of wildebeest, gazelles move in smaller, looser groups. This flexibility is their strength. While the migration pushes forward in waves, gazelles dart between the larger herds, feeding on what remains. Their selective browsing helps balance the ecosystem, nibbling at shoots and leaves the wildebeest overlook. In their constant vigilance, they also serve as early warning systems, their sudden flight sending ripples of alarm through the plains, alerting zebras and wildebeest alike to unseen predators. Graceful, fragile, endlessly hunted, the gazelles and antelopes may seem like footnotes to the migration spectacle, but without them, the savanna would lose its poetry. They are the dancers among the giants, the quicksilver sparks that light up the grasslands with every bound. Among the swirling herds of wildebeest, zebras, and gazelles, a different rhythm moves across the savanna. It is slower, steadier, and impossibly grand. The earth trembles not with frantic hooves, but with deliberate, weighty steps. Elephants, Africa's living titans, carve their own migration across the Serengeti and Maasai Mara, following ancient paths known only to them. Unlike the mass urgency of the wildebeest, elephant migrations are family odysseys, woven with memory and wisdom. At the heart of every herd is the matriarch, the eldest female who carries in her mind a living map of the land. She remembers where the rivers flow longest into the dry season, where hidden springs wait beneath cracked earth, and which groves of acacia or baobab will still yield nourishment when all else fails. Her decisions guide not only her kin, but generations yet to come. Elephants are engineers of survival. Their great bodies demand colossal amounts of food and water, up to 150 kilograms of vegetation, and 200 liters of water each day. To meet these needs, they must keep moving, their migrations stretching across hundreds of kilometers. But this endless search transforms the landscape itself. Where elephants pass, they prune trees, strip bark, and open thickets, creating pathways that smaller animals later use. When they dig into dry riverbeds with their tusks, they unearth hidden water, life-saving for antelope, birds, and even predators that follow. Their journeys often intersect with the wildebeest herds, though not in competition. Instead, they play complementary roles. Wildebeest and zebras trim the grass to fresh growth, while elephants sculpt the larger vegetation, preventing woodlands from choking out open plains. In this way, elephants are not just participants in the ecosystem, they are its architects. Without them, the savanna would change shape, and the Great Migration itself would be altered. But the elephant's journey is not without peril. Though towering in strength, they are vulnerable in subtle ways. Calves, stumbling on unsteady legs, depend on the constant protection of mothers, aunts, and siblings. Lions may test them, but the greatest threat comes from human hands. In some regions beyond the Serengeti, poaching for ivory and the encroachment of farmland have fractured elephant migrations, breaking ancient routes. In the Serengeti Mara system, however, the protected lands still allow these giants to walk as their ancestors did, each step echoing across centuries. To see a herd in motion is to glimpse the essence of kinship. Trunks entwine in gestures of reassurance. Mothers rumble low calls to keep their young close. Calves play, splashing in rivers or chasing birds, learning the strength they will one day carry. And always, the matriarch leads, patient, wise, unyielding, toward survival. The migration of elephants may not hold the spectacle of massed millions like the wildebeest, but it carries a quieter grandeur. Their path is slower, more deliberate, yet no less vital. In the heart of the Serengeti, as the sun sinks low and the sky bleeds crimson across the horizon, the grasslands grow still. A silence spreads, heavy and expectant. broken only by the chirp of crickets and the distant call of a hornbill. But hidden in the tawny sea of grass, shadows stir. Golden eyes glimmer. Muscles coil. The lions of the Serengeti are awake. For the wildebeest, zebras, and gazelles, the migration is a desperate push for survival. For the lions, it is a season of abundance, a moving feast that stretches across hundreds of kilometers. Each year, the great herds pour into lion territories like rivers of flesh and blood. The plains thunder with prey, and the prides prepare to strike. Unlike the solitary stealth of leopards or the high-speed chases of cheetahs, lions are masters of teamwork. A pride is a family. Lionesses bound by blood and loyalty, working as one. The hunt begins with patience. Lionesses crouch low in the grass, their bodies melting into the earth. They spread out in silent formation, circling the edges of a herd. One lioness moves upwind, the decoy, while her sisters fan wide, invisible until it is too late. The moment comes suddenly, brutally. A burst of muscle, a deafening roar. Panic erupts as wildebeests scatter, their hooves drumming the ground like a war song. The lions surge forward, targeting the weak, the young, the careless. Dust fills the air as a lioness leaps, her claws raking into the flank of a fleeing wildebeest. Others pile on, using their combined strength to drag down prey many times their size. Within minutes, the struggle ends, and the pride feasts beneath the Serengeti stars. But hunting is never guaranteed. For every successful ambush, there are failures. Prey slipping away in a storm of hooves. Lionesses left panting and empty-bellied. Hunger is a constant companion, especially for males on the edge of pride. These great maned kings often arrive late to the feast, using their strength to dominate and claim the choicest cuts. Their roars roll across the plains, warning rivals and proclaiming sovereignty. The presence of lions reshapes the migration itself. Wildebeest alter their paths to avoid known hunting grounds, pushing into crocodile-laden rivers or predator-filled thickets. Zebras keep their foals tightly in the center of the herd, ears twitching at every sound. Even vultures circle above the plains, knowing that where lions hunt, scraps are sure to follow. They are not villains of this story, but guardians of balance. Without them, the plains would lose their rhythm, the dance of predator and prey that has endured for millennia. As dawn breaks, the pride retreats into the shade of acacia trees, bellies full and paws stained dark. Cubs wrestle playfully, unaware of the deadly lessons being written into their lineage. Across the golden plains of the Serengeti, a flicker of movement catches the eye. Sleek, slender, and built for speed, the cheetah is Africa's ultimate sprinter. While lions rely on strength in numbers and ambush tactics, the cheetah survives by mastering the art of pursuit, explosive speed, and unrivaled agility. The migration delivers opportunity, but also competition. Wildebeest are too large for these fragile-bodied hunters, so cheetahs turn their attention to the nimble gazelles that move alongside the herds. Thompson's gazelle, quick, sharp-eyed, and forever alert, becomes the cheetah's primary quarry. This is no easy task. A cheetah's entire existence hinges on timing. Too early, and the prey darts away. Too late, and the chase burns precious energy for nothing. The hunt begins with stillness. A mother cheetah crouches low in the grass, her cubs hidden behind her, watching intently. She inches forward, each paw fall deliberate, her spotted coat blending seamlessly with the swaying savanna. Her amber eyes lock on a young gazelle straying just beyond the safety of the herd. The moment comes. In a heartbeat, stillness turns to chaos. The cheetah explodes into motion, her body a blur of power and precision. Within seconds, she reaches 60 kilometers per hour, her spine flexing like a spring, her tail whipping to balance every sharp turn. Dust rises in a storm behind her as the gazelle bolts, zigzagging in desperate evasion. For a fleeting moment, prey and predator are equals, both fueled by survival. But the cheetah's speed is unmatched. In less than 20 seconds, the chase ends. A trip, a pounce, and silence falls. The gazelle lies still, yet victory comes with danger. Unlike lions, cheetahs cannot defend their kills. Their light frames, designed for speed, are no match for the brute force of hyenas, jackals, or even vultures. Within minutes of the takedown, scavengers gather, their cries piercing the air. A hyena lopes in, and the cheetah retreats reluctantly, growling softly as she watches her hard-won meal vanish. For a mother with hungry cubs, such losses are devastating. Raising young during the migration is a trial by fire. Cheetah cubs, small and vulnerable, face danger at every turn. The mother must hunt daily, balancing the need to feed them with the risk of leaving them exposed. While she stalks, they huddle in the grass, easy targets for lions, leopards, or birds of prey. Many do not survive their first year. And yet, the mother persists, teaching them to stalk, to chase, to master the craft of survival written in their blood. The migration both nourishes and threatens the cheetah's future. The influx of prey offers food in abundance, but the presence of so many predators amplifies the risks. Still, the cheetah endures, her lineage carried forward one successful hunt at a time. When the Serengeti sun dips low and the golden light fades, a new chorus rises over the plains. High-pitched whoops and cackles pierce the dusk, carrying for miles in the still air. It is the unmistakable call of the hyena, Africa's great opportunist, feared and misunderstood in equal measure. The migration draws not only the great hunters, but also those who thrive in the shadows between life and death. To many, hyenas are mere scavengers, skulking at the edges of lion kills. But the truth is far more complex. Hyenas are formidable hunters in their own right, equipped with bone-crushing jaws and a stamina that can outlast almost any prey. Unlike the brief, explosive chases of cheetahs, hyenas rely on endurance, running their quarry down in relentless pursuit until exhaustion delivers the final blow. In the chaos of the migration, their packs, called clans, can number up to 80 individuals, each with its own hierarchy ruled by powerful females. Coordination is key. They communicate through whoops, grunts, and eerie laughter, their voices weaving a tapestry of strategy in the night. Together, they can bring down wildebeest, zebras, even young buffalo, prey far larger than any single hyena could manage. As lions leave the remnants of a kill, hyenas arrive in droves, squabbling and shrieking as they strip carcasses down to bone in minutes. Nothing goes to waste: hide, hooves, even marrow-rich bones crushed with ease. In this way, hyenas are nature's cleanup crew, preventing disease from festering and recycling nutrients back into the land. Without them, the Serengeti would be littered with the rotting remains of the migration. At the smaller end of the spectrum are the jackals, nimble, clever, and endlessly resourceful. These sharp-eyed canids dart around the edges of the great herds, always alert for opportunity. A forgotten scrap from a lion's feast, the leftovers from a cheetah's stolen kill, or even insects stirred up by trampling hooves. Jackals exploit it all. Often paired for life, jackal pairs work in tandem, their bond allowing them to guard food caches and raise pups with surprising efficiency. During the list, jackals flourish. They are bold enough to harass vultures from a carcass and cunning enough to dart in and steal pieces from under a hyena's nose. Their small size is no disadvantage. It is their very nimbleness that allows them to survive among giants. In the crowded theater of the migration, where millions of hooves thunder and predators clash openly, one hunter moves in silence, unseen, unheard, almost forgotten. The leopard, Africa's ghost of the savannah. Unlike lions who roar their dominion across the plains, or cheetahs who flaunt their speed in open chases, leopards are shadows. They do not need spectacle. Instead, they thrive in secrecy, hunting under cover of darkness or from the concealment of trees. To see one is a rare privilege. To watch one hunt is to glimpse perfection in patience. Leopards are masters of ambush. Their rosetted coats melt into the dappled shade of riverine forests or the mottled bark of acacia trees. They wait silently, muscles coiled, tail twitching ever so slightly. A gazelle fawn strays too close, or perhaps a distracted wildebeest calf pauses by a thicket. Then with a burst of power, the leopard strikes, swift, precise, and devastating. No long chase, no roaring announcement, just a single pounce and silence once more. But hunting on the migration route is perilous for a solitary predator. The plains teem with competitors. Lions steal kills through brute force. Hyenas swarm in overwhelming numbers. Even vultures threaten to strip a carcass before a leopard has time to eat. To survive, leopards employ a trick few others can match. They hoist their kills high into the branches of trees. With astonishing strength, they drag prey sometimes twice their own weight into the canopy, far beyond the reach of scavengers. There, suspended in leafy fortresses, they dine in peace, hidden from the chaos below. Leopards are solitary by necessity, each individual carving out a secretive domain. Mothers raise their cubs alone, teaching them the art of stealth, one lesson at a time. Cubs learn to stalk insects, then hares, before graduating to antelope. Survival is uncertain. Many fall to lions, hyenas, or even starvation. But those who endure inherit the elusive legacy of their kind. Though they rarely appear in the sweeping dramas of the migration, leopards are ever present, quiet beneficiaries of abundance. When herds crowd rivers and grasslands, leopards adapt, slipping into the margins to claim what they need. They do not chase the migration so much as coexist with it, molding their secret lives around the tides of prey that flood the Serengeti and Maasai Mara. Their beauty lies not in spectacle but in subtlety. While the lion's roar shakes the plains, the leopard's silence rules the forests and thickets. While hyenas laugh in the night, the leopard moves like smoke, leaving nothing but paw prints in the dust. They are the invisible thread in the tapestry of the migration, rarely seen, never absent. As dawn breaks, a leopard rests on the limb of a tall acacia, golden eyes half closed, a gazelle carcass dangling safely above. High above the Serengeti, where the shimmering heat bends the horizon, the sky itself becomes a hunting ground. Dark silhouettes circle effortlessly on rising thermals. Their wings spread wide, scanning every inch of the plains below. These are the watchers of the migration, the vultures and birds of prey, eyes in the sky and sentinels of survival. Vultures are the undisputed masters of aerial detection. From kilometers away, they can spot the slightest flicker of movement or the gleam of sunlight on fresh blood. To the herds, their circling shadows strike fear, an omen of death. To scavengers on the ground, their descent signals a banquet. With hooked beaks and bald heads built for the grisly work of tearing flesh, vultures descend in a storm. Wings beating, screeches piercing, as they strip a carcass with ruthless efficiency. In mere minutes, what was once a wildebeest or gazelle is reduced to clean white bone. But vultures are more than scavengers. They are the great purifiers of the savanna. By consuming carrion that would otherwise rot, they prevent disease from festering and spreading through the herds. Anthrax, botulism, plague. Without vultures, such killers would sweep unchecked across the migration. Every carcass consumed is an invisible act of preservation, protecting the very ecosystem that sustains them. Alongside the vultures soar other avian hunters. Tawny eagles, martial eagles, and battlers patrol the skies. Their sharp talons and keen eyes trained not on carrion, but on living prey. A moment's distraction by a gazelle fawn, a young hare, or even a vulnerable vulture chick can mean instant death from above. These raptors embody speed and precision, striking with breathtaking force before retreating to feed on their perches. For many, the sight of vultures spiraling higher and higher signals more than death. It is a beacon. Hyenas, jackals, even lions watch the skies. A gathering of vultures means food is near, and predators follow the winged scouts to locate kills they might otherwise miss. In this way, vultures become reluctant guides, linking the sky to the earth, their presence reshaping the behavior of those below. The migration magnifies their importance. With millions of wildebeest and zebras moving across the land, death is constant, whether by predator, exhaustion, or drowning during river crossings. For every loss, vultures arrive, ensuring that nothing is wasted. They are the final participants in the cycle, transforming death into nourishment, closing the loop that keeps the Serengeti alive. Poisoned carcasses, left by farmers to kill predators, often claim vultures in the hundreds. Habitat loss and power lines further cut into their numbers. Where once the skies filled with spiraling flocks, today some species teeter on the brink of decline. The herds reach the river. For days they have grazed hesitantly on its banks, gazing at the dark waters with twitching ears and stamping hooves. The Mara River lies before them, a ribbon of life that must be crossed, and a gauntlet of death that guards it. For in these murky depths lurks one of Africa's oldest and most ruthless predators, the Nile crocodile. Some are older than the migration itself, giants stretching over 5 meters, their armored bodies resting motionless beneath the surface. To the unsuspecting eye, they are little more than floating logs. But behind those cold, lidless eyes lies patience perfected over millions of years. These crocodiles can wait for hours, even days, conserving their energy until the herds make their fateful move. The moment comes suddenly. Driven by thirst, instinct, and the sheer pressure of numbers, the wildebeest surge forward. Dust swirls into the sky as hooves thunder toward the water's edge. Zebras bray nervously, calves bleat, and then chaos. The river explodes in a storm of bodies. Thousands plunge into the churning water, their horns and backs barely visible as waves break against them. Beneath, the crocodiles strike. With terrifying speed, they erupt from the depths, jaws yawning wide, teeth like ivory daggers snapping shut with bone-crushing force. A wildebeest is seized by the muzzle, another dragged by the leg. The river becomes a stage of violence, splashes and screams merging into a single frantic chorus. The crocodile's power lies not only in its bite, but in its strategy. Once clamped onto prey, it begins the infamous death roll, twisting violently to tear flesh and disable victims. A single kill can sustain a crocodile for weeks, sometimes months, and so they strike with merciless precision. For the wildebeest, the odds are grim. Tens of thousands cross, but countless fall victim to jaws older than time. Yet even here, survival is possible. The sheer momentum of the herds overwhelms predators. Many escape simply by outnumbering the crocodiles, pressing forward in frantic waves until the river itself seems to boil with life. Zebras form protective clusters, shielding foals between adults as they paddle across. Wildebeest calves cling desperately to their mothers, fighting the current, scrambling up the opposite bank with hooves slick from mud and blood. For those who fall, the river claims them. Not all are lost to crocodiles. Many drown in the crush, their bodies later feeding scavengers and vultures. The Mara, like the plains, demands a toll for passage. It is the great equalizer of the migration, merciless, impartial, and eternal. If the Nile crocodile is the assassin of Africa's rivers, then the hippopotamus is the armored tank, a creature so massive, so territorial, and so unpredictable that even lions and crocodiles show caution in its presence. During the Great Migration, hippos are not simply passive onlookers in the waterways. They are rulers of their aquatic domains, and sometimes unwitting hazards to the herds that must cross. At first glance, a hippo might seem almost comical. Rotund bodies wallowing in the shallows, ears twitching, nostrils flaring, with only eyes peeking above the surface like periscopes. They spend most of the day submerged, avoiding the blistering African sun. But do not mistake their lethargic facade for docility. When challenged, the hippo transforms into a furious colossus, capable of charging at astonishing speeds, up to 30 kilometers per hour on land, and biting with a force strong enough to snap a canoe in half. For the wildebeest, zebras, and gazelles forced to cross rivers teeming with both crocodiles and hippos, the water becomes a gauntlet of risks. A hippo may not hunt them for food. They are largely grazers, feeding on grass at night. But any intrusion into their space can trigger violent reactions. Entire pods of hippos have been seen dispersing frantically when crossings begin, the chaos of thrashing hooves and panicked splashing provoking aggression. Some unlucky animals, already exhausted from their swim, may find themselves battered or even drowned beneath the bulk of an angry hippo. Beyond their reputation as Africa's most dangerous mammal, hippos also shape the ecosystem in profound ways. By grazing on land at night and returning to water by day, they transport nutrients between two worlds, Their dung fertilizes the rivers, feeding fish and aquatic plants. Their trails carve channels into floodplains, creating microhabitats for smaller creatures. Even their territorial squabbles, where males clash with open jaws and guttural bellows, stir up the waterways, influencing the very flow of life along the riverbanks. The wildebeest must cross, the zebras must follow, and the gazelles have no choice but to risk it all. For the hippos, it is less about survival and more about sovereignty, guarding their space with the same vigilance a lion guards its pride, or a matriarch elephant her herd. In the endless sweep of the Serengeti, life is at once magnificent and merciless. For every towering wildebeest or bounding zebra, for every prowling lion or soaring eagle, there exists a fragile beginning, newborns entering a world defined by hunger, thirst, and the ever-present shadow of death. Spring marks the calving season, when hundreds of thousands of wildebeest calves are born in synchronized waves. The plains transform into a nursery of trembling legs and wobbly hooves. Mothers stand vigil, their eyes ever watchful for lions lying in tall grass, hyenas patrolling the edges, or crocodiles lurking in the rivers that the herds must cross. The calves, though awkward and fragile at birth, are instinctively resilient. Within minutes they rise on shaky legs, learning to keep pace with the moving mass, a first and crucial lesson in survival. Zebra foals join the nursery with similar urgency. Their striped coats, striking against the golden grass, offer camouflage and visual bonding for mothers, but provide little defense against the predators that shadow the herds. Grant's and Thompson's gazelle fawns, smaller and faster, rely more heavily on stealth and evasive maneuvers. They crouch in the grass, remaining motionless, blending with every sway of the wind, while their mothers feed nearby, ever alert. For the young of predators, life is equally treacherous. Lion cubs, often born hidden in secluded dens, face constant threats from rival prides and marauding hyenas. Mothers nurse their cubs carefully, teaching them essential hunting and stalking skills over months. Yet many will never reach adulthood. Cheetah cubs are even more vulnerable. Born in thick brush, they must rely entirely on their mother's guidance to evade lions, hyenas, and eagles. The journey from vulnerability to survival is fraught with peril, and mortality rates are staggering. Even birds take part in this battle for life. Vultures, eagles, and other raptors raise their chicks high in trees or cliffside nests, providing safety from terrestrial predators. Yet the journey from egg to fledgling is a race against starvation, disease, and competition. Each chick that hatches represents a triumph of timing, instinct, and maternal protection. Motherhood in the Serengeti is relentless. Across species, maternal instincts are honed to precision. Wildebeest and zebra mothers keep their young in the center of the herd, shields of bodies and hooves against lurking predators. Lionesses teach cubs to stalk, pounce, and survive, while cheetah mothers lead cubs on practice hunts across the plains. Even vultures defend their nests with fierce determination, swooping at intruders and calling with piercing cries. Survival is selective. Many calves, cubs, and chicks will not survive their first weeks. Their deaths are not failures, but the shaping force of the ecosystem, feeding predators, nourishing scavengers, and ensuring that only the strongest and most adaptable genes continue. Amid the thunder of hooves, the roar of lions, and the swirl of dust over the plains, a quieter, invisible army makes its presence felt. Parasites and insects, tsetse flies, ticks, mosquitoes, and countless other tiny organisms shape the lives of every creature on the Serengeti. From the smallest gazelle to the mightiest elephant, they are unseen forces, wielding power that rivals the most fearsome predators. Tsetse flies patrol the savanna with deadly precision. Their bite is small, almost imperceptible, but it carries trypanosomes, parasites that cause sleeping sickness in ungulates and even humans. For migrating wildebeest and zebras, the threat is constant. Herds push onward, hooves pounding the earth, while swarms of biting flies hover above, seeking blood. The young and weak often succumb, their tiny bodies unable to resist disease while fleeing the predators and rivers alike. Ticks, though stationary, are equally relentless. They embed into skin, feeding on blood, transmitting infections, and draining energy from hosts already stressed by long journeys. Lions, hyenas, and even cheetahs are not immune. These parasites are universal companions of life in the Serengeti. And yet, the presence of insects is not merely a curse. They serve as indicators of ecological health, signaling rainfall patterns, vegetation growth, and even the presence of migratory herds, guiding predators in unseen ways. Mosquitoes and other disease vectors add another layer of invisible danger. Ephemeral pools left by rains become breeding grounds, teeming with larvae that will mature into tiny but lethal threats. Animals must navigate these hazards with instinct honed over millennia, avoiding waterlogged areas when possible, grazing selectively, or traveling in groups to reduce individual risk. Survival is not only a matter of speed or strength. It is vigilance against organisms that cannot be outrun, only endured. By affecting population sizes, they help maintain balance between predator and prey. Weak or sickly animals are more likely to be preyed upon, and those that survive emerge stronger and more resilient. Diseases spread by parasites can prevent overgrazing in areas where food would otherwise become scarce, allowing the grasslands to regenerate for the next cycle of the migration. Even the birds, from vultures to eagles, interact with this invisible army. They feed on insect swarms, clean wounds, and act as natural pest controllers, subtly influencing the dynamics of predator and prey alike. Without these small, unseen participants, the intricate web of life in the Serengeti would unravel, and the balance of the migration would tip. Across the vast expanse of the Serengeti and Maasai Mara, the rhythm of life is dictated by the sky. The African sun, relentless and unyielding, alternates with sudden storms that drench the plains, creating a pulse that drives the movement of millions. The Great Migration is not simply a journey across land. It is a journey choreographed by rainfall, by drought, by the very breath of the seasons themselves. During the wet season, the plains burst into life. Grasses rise tall and green. Rivers swell, and watering holes teem with replenished water. It is a time of abundance. When wildebeest calves are born, zebras graze with calves at their sides, and predators are both challenged and rewarded by plentiful prey. The migration surges forward with purpose, a flowing tide of life responding to the promise of nourishment. Dust clouds shimmer under golden sunlight, and the plains vibrate with movement, each step synchronized with the beat of nature's calendar. But the wet season is fleeting. Soon comes the dry season, and with it, harshness and scarcity. The grasses wither to brittle gold, and the once generous rivers shrink to shallow trickles. Waterholes, the lifeblood of the plains, become fiercely contested arenas. Wildebeest and zebras press northward, driven by instinct, the desperate need for hydration, and the memory of past migrations. Predators take advantage of the stress, striking weak, thirsty, or lagging animals. The dry season is a trial by fire, a relentless test of endurance, agility, and survival. For elephants, the dry season is a time of monumental effort. Matriarchs lead their herds across parched plains, sensing underground aquifers and ancient riverbeds that still hold water. Hippos cling stubbornly to shrinking pools, and crocodiles lie in the shallow, murky rivers, their patience tested as much as that of the migrating herds. Every creature adjusts to the changing conditions, responding with behavior honed over millennia, balancing risk and reward in a landscape that alternates between plenty and peril. The rain, when it returns, brings renewal and hope. Rivers rise, grasslands flourish, and the migration reverses course, tracing the cycle of life with breathtaking precision. Predators follow the herds, calves grow stronger, and the plains themselves recover from the trials of drought. These seasonal swings dictate the tempo of life, shaping breeding cycles, hunting strategies, and even the social structures of species that call the Serengeti home. The Mara River stretches wide and foreboding, its waters dark and turbulent, reflecting the sky above, as if mirroring the fear and determination below. For the migrating wildebeest and zebras, this is not just another stretch of the journey. It is the ultimate test, a crucible where life and death collide in a spectacle as old as the migration itself. As the herds gather on the northern banks, the tension is palpable. Calves tremble against their mothers, hooves paw at the dry soil, dust spiraling around the anxious mass. The river, swollen from seasonal rains, churns with unpredictable currents, hiding lurking predators beneath its deceptively smooth surface. Crocodiles, lying motionless in wait, become specters of inevitability. Every movement, every misstep can spell the end. Then comes the surge. Thousands of wildebeest plunge forward, their hooves thundering into the water, splashing and churning the river into a frenzied storm. Zebras follow, hooves slipping on slick mud, ears pinned back, nostrils flaring with panic. The air fills with bellowing calls, squealing calves, and the crashing chorus of bodies moving as one. Dust, spray, and fur merge into a chaotic haze, visible even from distant vantage points. Beneath the water, the crocodiles strike with terrifying precision. Massive jaws snap shut with bone-crushing force, and a single bite can drag a struggling wildebeest beneath the surface in an instant. Some are lucky enough to dodge the ambush while others are seized, thrashing and screaming as the river claims them. Hippos, territorial and unpredictable, add their own brand of peril, charged hooves and powerful jaws knocking animals off balance, creating whirlpools of panic. The crossing is a gauntlet of unpredictability. Weaker or slower individuals fall first, trampled or swept away by the current. Calves and foals, dependent on the protection of their mothers, sometimes lose contact in the chaos, calling plaintively as they struggle to reach the opposite bank. Predators lie in wait on both sides. Lions, hyenas, and jackals, sensing weakness, ready to strike those that emerge exhausted from the river. Survivors claw and stumble onto the far bank, shaking themselves free of water and mud. Eyes wide, hearts racing, muscles trembling from exertion. Mothers nudge calves forward, protecting the young and vulnerable with instinct honed over generations. Zebras regroup in tight clusters, hooves stamping, ears twitching, as they continue the relentless march toward the pastures beyond. The roar of the river fades behind them, replaced by the gentle sway of golden grasses and the distant hum of life returning to normal. For those who survived the Mara River crossing, the Maasai Mara offers a brief reprieve, a patch of lush pastures, temporary safety, and the promise of nourishment that the dry plains cannot provide. The first thing that strikes the herds is the abundance. Grass stretches tall and green, dotted with acacias and scattered shrubs, shimmering with dew from recent rains. Wildebeest calves wobble on legs still trembling from the river, nuzzling their mothers and drinking deeply. Zebras graze cautiously, eyes flicking to the horizon for predators, while Thompson's and Grant's gazelles move in tight, graceful arcs, alert but unhurried, savoring the bounty of the season. Predators, though temporarily outnumbered by the river survivors, are never far behind. Lions patrol the edges of the grasslands, crouched low, muscles coiled, ready to strike at the first lapse in vigilance. Cheetahs, though solitary hunters, blend seamlessly into the waving grass, scanning for the young or the weak. Hyenas, clever and persistent, stalk the margins of the herds, ever alert for scraps or isolated prey. For the migrating herds, renewal is a delicate balance of rest and vigilance. Mothers tend to their young, grazing in tight groups to reduce vulnerability. Calves and foals practice evasive maneuvers, running through the grass, learning the subtle rhythms of predator detection. Even vultures circle above, ever watchful, their keen eyes noting every tremor, every potential opportunity, ready to descend when the balance of life and death shifts once more. The Maasai Mara also offers a moment of ecological harmony. Elephants meander through the savanna, felling trees and opening pathways that allow smaller herbivores access to fresh grazing. Giraffes nibble treetops, pruning branches and shaping the landscape, creating corridors of visibility for the prey below. The rivers and watering holes swell, providing life-sustaining water for the myriad species that share this temporary haven. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the Serengeti sky in shades of crimson and indigo, a transformation overtakes the plains. Shadows lengthen, the temperature drops, and the rhythm of life shifts. Daytime vigilance gives way to nocturnal cunning. In the cover of darkness, new hunters emerge, and survival demands a different set of skills. The lions, rulers of the day, extend their reign into the night. Silent and deliberate, they prowl through the tall grasses, muscles rippling under sleek coats. Eyes gleam in the faint moonlight as they stalk herds huddled near waterholes or grazing in open patches. Their movements are calculated. Each step brings them closer to unsuspecting prey. A misstep in the dark can be costly, but for the lions, hunting under the cloak of night maximizes advantage, covering stealth with the shadows of uncertainty. Leopards, masters of the unseen, thrive in this dim world. Solitary and secretive, they navigate the trees and underbrush with the grace of smoke, stalking small mammals, birds, and even the occasional wandering calf. While lions and hyenas dominate the ground, leopards claim vertical space, ambushing from branches and disappearing before their presence is detected. Their stealth is unmatched. A quiet predator in a noisy world, a reminder that survival is not always about strength, but about cunning and patience. Hyenas, the night's relentless opportunists, laugh into the darkness, their calls echoing across the plains. Packs move in synchronized waves, scavenging, hunting, and testing weaknesses in the herds. Unlike lions, hyenas combine brute force with strategic coordination, harrying prey over long distances until exhaustion tips the scales. Their power lies in persistence, an unyielding determination to exploit the vulnerabilities that darkness both conceals and amplifies. Even prey species adapt to the cover of night. Wildebeest calves huddle close to mothers, trembling but alert to every sound. Zebras, sensitive to the slightest rustle of grass, maintain tight formations, while gazelles freeze at the flicker of a shadow or the hiss of movement. The nocturnal world heightens senses, magnifying subtle cues that might go unnoticed in daylight. Survival becomes a delicate dance of perception, reflex, and instinct. Birds, too, play a part. Owls glide silently, talons poised for small mammals, while bats weave through the air, snatching insects in swift arcs. The invisible army of night, the insects, parasites, and tiny creatures, continues its work, adding another layer of challenge for herbivores already navigating the predator-dominated landscape. Night on the savanna is a different world, a parallel stage where life and death continue their relentless cycle. Predators exploit darkness as a weapon, while prey evolve strategies of vigilance and caution. Amid the sweeping herds of wildebeest, zebras, and gazelles, the skies and plains teem with another class of migrants: birds. Their seasonal movements are synchronized with the terrestrial spectacle below, weaving a parallel story of endurance, survival, and strategy across the Serengeti and Maasai Mara. From soaring raptors to flightless runners, these avian travelers are as integral to the ecosystem as the giants that thunder across the grasslands. High above, storks and other large waders glide effortlessly on thermals, scanning the plains for food and signs of life. Their migration mirrors the rhythms of the herds, following the reins and the pulses of prey. The marabou stork, with its immense wingspan and slow, deliberate flight, can traverse hundreds of kilometers with minimal effort, landing only to feast on carrion or small vertebrates left in the wake of predators. From above, these birds act as both scavengers and sentinels, detecting opportunities and dangers with a perspective no ground-bound creature can achieve. Raptors, including martial eagles and bateleurs, patrol the skies with surgical precision. Every movement, every shadow, every flicker of motion on the plains can attract their attention. Unlike storks, they are hunters in their own right. Talons sharp, eyes razor-focused, strike speed measured in fractions of a second. Even the young or sickly ungulates are not exempt from their gaze. Raptors exploit the same cycles of the migration that predators do, turning the plains into a layered battlefield of survival. On the ground, ostriches claim a different kind of dominion. Flightless yet remarkably swift, these giant birds are built for endurance. Their long legs, muscular and powerful, can cover distances at speeds up to 70 kilometers per hour, outrunning most terrestrial threats. Ostriches are not passive observers. They graze alongside the herds, feeding on seeds, shrubs, and small insects, while constantly alert for predators. Their large eyes, perched high above the plains, offer early warnings of danger, benefiting not only themselves but the animals that share the grasslands. Even smaller birds, the unsung participants of the migration, follow the rhythms of rainfall and insect abundance. Swallows and weavers track insect swarms stirred by the movement of large herds, while sandpipers and plovers scavenge along riverbanks disturbed by crossing animals. Each species, no matter how small, has adapted to a life intertwined with the giants of the migration, capitalizing on opportunities created by the pulses of movement across the land. In the Serengeti and Maasai Mara, survival is never absolute. For every wildebeest that crosses the Mara River, every calf that tumbles under the hoof of a predator, every gazelle caught by a cheetah, there is a consequence that ripples through the ecosystem. Death, while brutal, is never wasted. It feeds life, sustaining an intricate web of existence that has evolved over millennia. The fallen bodies of prey become nourishment for predators and scavengers alike. Lions drag carcasses to shaded areas, consuming every morsel, while hyenas strip bones clean, their powerful jaws leaving nothing to waste. Leopards drag kills into trees, safe from opportunistic scavengers, and jackals patrol the fringes, snatching scraps with cunning efficiency. The plains teem with creatures whose survival depends entirely on the sacrifices of others. Birds, too, join this continuum. Vultures, ever vigilant, detect carcasses from miles above, circling in spirals until they descend in synchronized flocks. Their bare heads, perfectly adapted to feed on carrion without contamination, are a testament to evolutionary design. Marabou storks, kites, and eagles follow similar patterns, sweeping in to consume the remains that larger predators leave behind. Even insects, often overlooked, consume the smallest remnants, completing a chain of life that leaves nothing unused. Beyond the carnivores and scavengers, death fertilizes the land itself. Decomposing bodies enrich the soil, supporting the growth of grasses and shrubs that sustain herbivores. Nutrients cycle back into the ecosystem, fueling the next wave of migration and ensuring that the plains remain productive. Each fallen wildebeest calf, each zebra lost to the river, contributes to the survival of countless other species, from the tiny antelope grazing nearby to the birds overhead scanning for their next meal. The circle of life is also a teacher. For predators, it reinforces hunting strategies and social cohesion. For prey, it drives evolution. Speed, vigilance, camouflage, and care are honed in response to the constant presence of death. Every encounter, every loss, every survival shapes the future of the species involved. Even humans, observing from a distance, can learn from this system. The African plains demonstrate the delicate balance between abundance and scarcity, life and death, predator and prey. It is a network of interdependence, a relentless, unbroken rhythm that defines the very essence of the Serengeti. Here, death is not an end. It is transformation, sustenance, and renewal. Every life taken nourishes another. Every predator's success ensures the survival of scavengers. And every fallen body enriches the land. Across the sweeping plains of the Serengeti and Maasai Mara, the story of the Great Migration is not written by animals alone. The Maasai people, guardians of these lands for centuries, share an intimate relationship with the rhythms of the herds. Their presence is subtle yet enduring. Traditional pastoralists, living in harmony with wildlife, moving their livestock in tune with the seasons, and respecting the migratory corridors of the great herds. To the Maasai, the migration is more than a spectacle. It is a living calendar, marking the passing of rains, the growth of pastures, and the ebb and flow of life. They know the plains intimately, the hidden water holes, the safe paths for crossing rivers, and the areas where predators congregate. Their coexistence with lions, hyenas, and elephants is not accidental. Generations of observation and cultural practice have taught them the art of balance, to protect their cattle while allowing the wild herds to pass unhindered. In this relationship, humans become participants in the ecosystem, neither masters nor victims, but careful stewards of an ancient living cycle. As the herds feast upon the lush grasses of the Maasai Mara, their stay is necessarily brief. The wet season will fade, rivers will shrink, and grasslands will wither under the relentless sun. It is time for the herds to follow their ancient instincts, turning southward once more to the Serengeti. The journey back is as perilous as the northward migration. Crocodile-lined rivers, prowling predators, and the ever-present struggle for water and nourishment await. This southward trek completes the cyclical odyssey of the migration, a continuous loop stretching over 1,800 miles annually. The plains themselves are shaped by this endless movement of trails carved into the earth, waterholes replenished by hoofed travelers, and vegetation patterns molded by the grazing and trampling of millions. In every turn, the land and its creatures are intertwined, a testament to the enduring power of life that adapts, survives, and thrives in harmony with the forces that govern it. The Maasai, observers and participants in this cycle, witness each generation of wildebeest, zebra, and gazelle as they pass, calves born, young hunted, and herds renewed. For them, and for the plains themselves, the migration is not a single journey. It is an eternal rhythm, a story without end, and a living legacy of Africa's untamed wilderness. The Serengeti and Maasai Mara, timeless arenas of life and death, now face a new set of challenges, ones wrought not by predator or drought, but by humans. Climate change has begun to rewrite the rhythms of the plains. Rainfall patterns shift unpredictably, turning once fertile pastures into parched expanses, delaying migrations and straining herds. Dry seasons grow longer, wet seasons less reliable, and the delicate balance that has guided millions of animals for millennia teeters on the edge. Human encroachment is equally insidious. Roads, settlements, and agricultural land slice through ancient migratory corridors, forcing herds into narrower, riskier paths. Fences designed to protect crops or delineate property become deadly traps, channeling the herds toward predators or river crossings ill-suited to safe passage. Even well-intentioned infrastructure can inadvertently turn life-saving migration routes into death traps. Poaching adds another layer of peril. For elephants, rhinos, and even smaller ungulates, the hum of a truck or the flash of a rifle can mean extinction. While lions, hyenas, and crocodiles follow natural laws of survival, humans intervene with motives divorced from ecological balance. Horns, hides, or meat taken for profit ripple through the ecosystem, leaving scavengers without their meals and threatening the natural predator-prey equilibrium. Tourism, a double-edged sword, brings attention and conservation revenue, yet it also disrupts natural behavior. Safari vehicles crowd riverbanks during crossings. Drones hover overhead, and the constant presence of humans can stress animals, alter migration timing, and inadvertently shape predator strategies. Across the plains, dust rises like a veil, lifted by the ceaseless movement of hooves. The great herds surge forward, a living wave that has repeated for millennia. Each calf born, each predator hunting, every river crossing, and every hoof fall leaves its mark on the land, an imprint of survival, struggle, and renewal. This is a legacy written not in monuments or ink, but in dust and hooves. The migration is one of Earth's last great spectacles, a testament to endurance, adaptation, and the power of instinct. It is a story that transcends time, where generations of wildebeest, zebras, gazelles, and predators enact the drama of life, loss, and triumph in a cycle that seems eternal. Here, under the blazing sun and the endless skies, one witnesses the poetry of nature, the thunder of hooves, the flash of predator eyes, the flutter of wings overhead. It is a rhythm older than humanity, a pulse that has echoed across Africa for millennia, shaping the land as surely as it shapes the lives of those who traverse it. Humans are both guardians and threats to migration. On one hand, conservation efforts, national parks, and ecotourism provide crucial protection, funding anti-poaching patrols, habitat restoration, and wildlife research. Ecotourism brings global awareness, inspiring people to appreciate and protect these ancient rhythms of life. Habitat loss from agriculture and settlements, climate change altering rainfall and pastures, and fences restricting age-old migratory routes challenge the very survival of the herds. Poaching and human-wildlife conflicts strip away generations of evolutionary progress, leaving scars on ecosystems that may never fully heal. But what do you think? Will we protect or destroy? Let us know in the comments below. And if this tale captured your imagination, don't forget to explore the wild wonders of the Mediterranean next.